Hey everyone, the board exams are just around the corner, and I know that feeling of pressure can be, well, pretty intense. But today, we're going to take all that stress and flip it. We're going to turn it into a clear, solid, actionable plan for your Class 10 English paper.
I totally get it. You look at the syllabus, all the chapters, the sample papers, and it just feels like this giant mountain you have to climb. But here's a thought. What if that syllabus isn't your enemy? What if it's actually your secret weapon?
Because that's exactly what it is. It's a map. It literally tells you what the examiners are looking for, where all the marks are hiding, and the best way to get them. So, for the next few minutes, let's decode this map together. We're going to pinpoint exactly where you need to focus to score big. Ready? Let's do this.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture, the 100-mark strategy. Then we'll dive deep into each section of your exam paper: reading, writing and grammar, and of course, literature. We'll also talk about that super important internal assessment, and we'll wrap up with the very first step you can take to put this whole plan into action.
All right, first things first, let's get a clear understanding of how your final score is actually put together. It's not just about that one big exam, you know? Your total score is split into two major parts. You've got 80 marks coming from that final written board exam you take, but, and this is huge, a whopping 20 marks come from your internal assessment at school. Think about that for a second. A full 20% of your final grade is based on the work you do all year. That's not just some bonus, it's a massive head start. Getting those marks in the bag is your first big win.
Now, let's zoom in on that 80-mark theory paper. Just look at the breakdown here. Reading skills, 20 marks. Writing and grammar, 20 marks. But literature, a massive 40 marks. That's half of your entire paper. And honestly, this is fantastic news. Why? Because unlike an unseen passage, this is stuff you know. You have complete control over this content. This is your home turf. Mastering your literature section is the single most important strategy for a high score.
Okay, so let's tackle Section A. This is all about your reading skills. And yeah, this is where you face those unseen passages that can sometimes feel a bit tricky.
You're going to get two passages. The first is a discursive passage, which basically means it's going to explore an idea or an argument. The second is a case-based passage, and this one will probably come with a visual, like a chart or some data you got to figure out. Each one is worth 10 marks, and you'll see a mix of question types: multiple choice, objective, and short answers.
So, what is the board really testing here? It's not a treasure hunt for words. As the syllabus itself says, they're testing your ability to comprehend, interpret, and evaluate. You have to go deeper than just the surface. Can you understand the author's hidden meaning? That's inference. Can you form your own opinion on their argument? That's evaluation. That's where the top marks are hiding.
Next up, Section B, worth another solid 20 marks. Think of this section as a two-part challenge that tests your command over the English language. First, your pure grammar skills, and second, your structured writing.
For the 10 marks in grammar, the syllabus is your best friend. It gives you a crystal clear checklist. You need to be absolutely rock solid on determiners, tenses, modals, subject-verb concord, and reported speech. And they won't ask you for boring definitions. Nope, you'll have to actually apply them in exercises like gap filling or editing a passage.
The other 10 marks in this section are for writing. You have two specific missions here. First, a formal letter for 5 marks, and second, an analytical paragraph based on a map or a chart, also for 5 marks. For that paragraph, here's a pro tip. Keep the structure simple. Introduce what the data shows, then analyze the key trends, and finally, wrap it up with a quick conclusion. You stick to that, you'll be golden.
All right, on to the main event, Section C, literature. At 40 marks, this is the big one. This is where a top score is made or missed. It's half your paper, so let's make sure we get the strategy right.
So here's how those 40 marks break down. You've got 10 marks for reference to context questions, where they give you an extract from a text. Then look at this middle chunk, a huge 18 marks for short answer questions. And finally, 12 marks are set aside for 2 long answer questions that really test how deep your understanding goes. These questions, of course, come from your 2 textbooks. From First Flight, they're really looking for your creativity. Can you think beyond the story? With Footprints Without Feet, the focus is a bit more on your grasp of theme, plot, and character development. Knowing this difference helps you tune your revision for each book. And this right here, this is the secret sauce for literature. Just memorizing summaries is not going to cut it. The board wants to see your extrapolation skills. What does that even mean? It just means making connections.
Can you link the story to your own life? Can you compare one character's decision to another's from a totally different chapter? It's all about thinking beyond the book, and that's the skill you really need to practice.
Now remember those 20 marks we talked about right at the start? Let's circle back to that incredible head start you get before the main exam even begins. We're talking about your internal assessment.
That's right, 20 marks. This is such a huge opportunity, earned in school before you even set foot in the exam hall. Usually, these marks are broken down into things like your listening and speaking skills, maybe a project, and your periodic tests. You should definitely check with your teacher for the exact structure, but the main point is this: your consistent effort all year long really pays off right here.
So let's zoom in on just one part of that internal score, the assessment of listening and speaking, or ALS, which is worth 5 marks. Your teachers will be looking at things like how well you interact with others, your fluency, your pronunciation, and of course your vocabulary and grammar. The best way to prepare? It's simple. Participate. Jump into those classroom role plays and discussions. They're not just for fun, they are literally building your final score.
Okay, so we've broken down the entire 100-mark structure. We've decoded every single section of the theory paper and highlighted just how important your internal marks are. So, now what? What's your first move? If you remember only one thing from this entire breakdown, let it be this. The CBSE Class 10 English exam is a test of skills, analysis, interpretation, expression, creativity. It is not a memory test, so use this blueprint not just to study, but to practice the right skills for each section.
The map is in your hands now. You know where the marks are and you know what skills you need to get them. So, what's your first step? Don't try to do everything at once. Just pick one area from this blueprint, just one, and spend 30 minutes on it today. You have the plan. Now go build your success.